So when I was 12, he was 14. No, not that story. Keep it clean. We're sitting at the dinner table with our uncle who passed a couple years after that, who was like a father to us when we grew up. Uncle Mike, God bless, we're going to be watching this tonight. Yes. My uncle turns to me and he says, Brian, what do you think you want to be when you grow up? I said, that's easy. I already have this figured out a couple years ago. I don't know, I'm going to drive a beer truck. Beer truck, you got all the beer you want, you better take your beer full. Or I'm going to be a gas pump attendant. They don't have those anymore. Every time you pulled up, they had a fat wad of cash on them. That's how I got to 12 years old. True story. I'm not making this up. So my uncle turns to my brother and says, Matt, what do you want to be when you grow up? He looked over at me and he said, well, I'm going to be a doctor. And he's sitting there with his steak knife. I was so shit's steak. I'm looking down at my plate, empty, mouthful of grizzle. Kept dipping ketchup. I didn't know any better. Legitimately, that was the first time I think I started taking life a little more serious, rather than I was the tallest kid in my class, awesome at dodgeball. I didn't, but I didn't. My brother kind of turned my perspective that day. So I went into junior high. I started taking life a little more serious at 13. I started taking school a little more serious. He was a couple years ahead of me. Always on high honor roll. I worked my way up to honor roll. Always had the benefit of the doubt. Matt was always smart, quiet in class. So I was 2 years behind him. I got the class. Oh, he's going to be smart and quiet too. For the first 2 months, I always got the benefit of the doubt. After a year, though, so we got through high school. Matt worked his butt off, got into a great college because he knew he wanted to be a doctor. Went to Loyola down in Baltimore, got into other schools, chose that one, thought it would be a great pre-med program. So by the time I got to be 16, 17, junior, senior in high school, I started going down. This is my older brother at college. I loved it. Great school. I knew there's no way I could get in there, so I applied to some state schools in New York. I told Matt, hey, I'd love to go to Loyola too, maybe I could go. So he says, well, hand me your application. Let me do the essay for you, at least, if you really want to. I'm a Loyola graduate. True story, I got down to Loyola, down to Baltimore. That's when I really saw Matt just completely metamorph himself into a man, and he just ended his social life, and everything was just all about his career. He knew he had to get into a big medical school. There was residency after that, so I went out. I was checking IDs as the sophomore bar. I was bartending the junior, senior bar, but I was studying. I made sure I got good grades because of his example. Sure enough, he gets into a nice medical school, turned NYU down to go to Buffalo. Because he was fiscally smart, saved himself $35,000 a year. So I made my way through Loyola, went to medical school up in Buffalo. By sophomore year, I think they voted him the best looking kid in the class. And I was so glad. Give him a little heads up. The following year, they chose him to be on the front of the Buffalo newspaper because he was one of the only students to ever specialize in MD and an MBA program. And I still have that hung up in my office as motivation. And I have. For a long time, it's really kept me straight. Because this kid's worked so hard to get where he's at, and it didn't stop there. He got into one of the top residency programs out in White Plains. Was working under a world-renowned doctor, working with the New York Rangers. Everything he's ever done, I tried to just emulate and make sure I keep pace with him. He's kept me on pace. So many times going down to White Plains, visited him. Not only was he resident, he stuck around to be a chief resident for a 5th year. Everything he's ever done was about foreshadowing, about foresight. And it wasn't just for him, it's for you. Yeah. 50% of what he's accomplished was for him. The other 50% was for his family. We cheers. That wanted me to talk to me because he knew he was going to help people's lives, he was going to change lives, and he was going to be able to provide a lifestyle for his family that they didn't have to grow up with some of the conversations or arguments that we had because money was an issue sometimes. It's fine, we had a great childhood, but he wanted to make sure that Adriana and your kids didn't have to go through that. And I hope you appreciate that. I know you do. And I'm so thankful for all that you showed me throughout the years. No more do I need career help. Thankfully, 20 years later at 32, after that dinner at 12 years old, 20 years later, I don't need career advice anymore. I'm not driving a beer truck. I own a multi-million-dollar real estate development company, and I can't say that I'm doing that right now if he didn't keep leading an example for me. He wasn't a kid up the street. He wasn't a friend I met in school. I got to go home and see him and talk to him and get any advice I wanted any day of the week. For that, I'm grateful. Now, I can't wait for you to show me an example how to be a good father and a good husband. Seriously. Thank you very much.